more common with Jehovah's Witnesses than just out and out lying is the embellishing, which I don't even know how it got started, but it just almost goes without saying that it's okay to enhance the details of it. Begins with an original experience or something along that lines, and then you just build upon it and make it, and just engulf it. You make it sound better and better, and that's such standard practice with Jehovah's Witnesses that I don't think anyone even blinks at it. And it starts there, and now it just has gotten exaggerated to an insane degree where a Jehovah's Witness, you see their mouth flapping, you know that it's embellished. I just call them like I see them, Jerry.
The Smurfs.
Yeah.
Because, when I heard, I was a teenager when that happened. I loved it. I loved the Smurfs. And at first it scared me. And as I got older, my friends would joke about it, and I would be scared about it because I still think it was ridiculous. And I remember asking my mom about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is a crazy rumor. Shouldn't the elders be on top of this? And shouldn't somebody say hey, no, we shouldn't be telling these crazy stories? And my mother was like, no, they're demonic.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that was one of the first cracks for me. I'm like, that.
Oh, really?
That's pretty crazy. Because the stories that were going around about that were I'm like, really? A Smurf went in the Kingdom Hall, said this is bullshit, and walked out? Nobody chased it? No, this is in the newspaper? What the fuck? There aren't thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses talking about they saw it?
I spent hours online a few years ago. I spent probably 25 hours online scouring the internet, trying to deduce or get some sort of trail as to which Kingdom Hall, what city, what state, what country the Smurf incident took place at. And I was determined as all get out to pinpoint which Kingdom Hall this happened in. I said, somebody's got to know. Because every Kingdom Hall and every congregation on earth had, it wasn't a version of the Smurfs account. It's identical. Every retelling of the Smurf experience is identical that I've ever heard. There's never even been variation of it. It's been the same exact story, which leads you to wonder if this isn't something that kids started. And I just wanted to go backwards from there and say, where did it actually originate from? I even went on Snopes and every other. I went on TMZ and everything I could think of. And I read the same experience again and again and again, and I could not trace back its origin to anywhere. I don't even know what that means.
A few years ago, I was looking online, and I thought that, and then this is not confirmed or anything, but the rumor is that it started in an evangelical Christian community, and it kind of bled over to the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, really?
Puerto Rico.
That's interesting. In Puerto Rico, you say?
Yeah, it was a Latin thing. Yeah.
It sounds like a Latin thing.
And it was more in a Christian community that was in the JWs, and somehow bled over to the JWs. Now,
that's interesting because it's something I never lighted upon. But it almost seems like it. So you're saying that it was... Are you saying that it was a story they created about Jehovah's Witnesses, or you're saying that it was an experience at a church that got transformed into a Kingdom Hall thing?
Exactly. Experience at a church that got transformed into a Kingdom Hall thing.
I can just see it happening. It just, yeah.
Especially in a non-English community, so it gets when it gets translated into another language or whatever, then it takes on a life of its own. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think so. Same. It's like the Chupacabra. It was like the predecessor to that.
Yes. Exactly. When I was a kid, there was it was like one of those things, urban legend. Rod Stewart drank a gallon of sperm on stage, and actually, that was something that I heard from Jehovah's Witnesses, and that was why you should listen to his music.
I have heard, Jerry, I don't even know where to begin, of all the confirmed but unconfirmable, but yes, confirmed things about celebrities who were secretly satanic or extremely debauched and part of this system of things, an example of how bad it is. I remember, and these are things you would hear in service groups or a lot of JW housewife talk. I remember, for example, you've heard that John Denver hated Jehovah's Witnesses. He just fucking hated them. No reason. Yeah. He just hated their fucking guts. And he, the story goes that he was at, some JWs were at his concert, and he said, "Are there any JWs in the audience? Well, if you are, leave now, because I don't like you. I'm about to sing a patriotic song. I want you out of my building. Now get out."
Yeah. I heard that growing up too.
And that Johnny Carson, because he was such a big advocate of the Jehovah's Witnesses, when he had John Denver guest star on his show, he said, "Hey, I heard a rumor that you don't like Jehovah's Witnesses." And he said, "No, sir, I don't. In fact, I hate them." And he said, "Well, you know what? My cameraman over there is a Jehovah's Witness. My secretary is a Jehovah's Witness. And because you don't like them, you can get up and show yourself out right now. Get off my show. Get off my prop." And I heard that story recounted again and again. Through my research that I've done on the internet, what I was able to confirm is that that incident did not take place. That is absolutely confirmed. That apparently John Denver was on. He was on one episode of some version of the late night show that occurred without incident, and that was on. It was on some myth busting site. I remember JWs would spread strange rumors. I remember one was even in a talk. They said that Robert Palmer, the singer from the 1980s, was part of a super satanic cult that hated Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, that got around, and I was around leaving then, and I remember hearing that too. And here's the weird thing: I also remember Prince, the same thing about him, is that he was a Satan worshiper.
Oh, really?
Funny that he, yeah.
You know,
I threw away one of his tapes.
Yes. What I also remember strange stories about celebrities that had JW spouses and were. I remember that Clint Black, the country singer, people said that his first wife was a Jehovah's Witness woman, and he persecuted her terribly, and he beat her and locked her in a room and refused to let her go to meetings. And he hated, and the Jehovah's Witnesses that would come to pick her up for meetings, that he would point guns at them, and I just took that at face value. I accepted it until a couple of years later, I heard the same exact recounting at another table of Jehovah's Witnesses, except this time it was Vince Gill. It had changed from Clint Black to Vince Gill, but it was the same story, and I said, "Oh, yeah, well," and then there was the stories of all the celebrities that studied with Jehovah's Witnesses, and I remember they said that John Wayne, right before he died, the last 6 months he was alive, he studied and was just about to come into the truth. Then I heard the same thing about Freddie Fender. That Freddie Fender quit the music business because he studied and became a Jehovah's Witness. And I looked up Wikipedia or something some years later, and I was like, no, it doesn't say anything about Jehovah's Witnesses there. Probably made up. And it goes on, and it was different celebrities all the time. I remember it was even weird things like, oh, did you know Julia Child studied to become a judge? It was a strange thing. It was strange the people they would come up with. It was like, oh, Brian Gumbel, he's becoming a Jehovah's Witness now. He's studying. It's like, why do they make these things up? They're not even true. But for something compels Jehovah's Witnesses. it's a validating thing to make up these stories about. But then it's even gotten worse now that there are celebrities that are turning into Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's like, or they're turning into some strange form of Hollywood witnesses, which is a different thing. I don't even understand it. Maybe you can tell me.
That's weird, you know. Well, I'll tell you know, when I was growing up, it was George Benson, and that was pretty much the only one that I knew. And he was the one that was still performing.
Yeah.
Because everybody else would be like, this guy was a basketball player, and now he's Jehovah's Witness or whatever, and you never heard of him. You know? But he was the person that was still performing, and witnesses would go see him. I think my mom would go see him, and he would let witnesses come backstage if they showed the blood card.
Now that is, that's true.
Yes, that is true. My mom went backstage, and I know witnesses that went backstage, and I know witnesses that would trade tapes of him doing Kingdom Melodies that were like, nobody's supposed to, this is the Kingdom Hall, but if you want to listen to it on your own free time, it's just George Benson playing the guitar, and he's playing one of those songs or whatever.
Isn't it strange now how strict? Yeah. Isn't it strange how rigid and how almost superstitious Jehovah's Witnesses used to be about the recreation or the covering of Jehovah's sacred music? And now they're playing Happy at Bethel and stuff, and it's like everything went out the window. It's like, who gives a hell? They're just like... the old songbook was not copyright
protected because those songs were Christendom hymns.
Exactly. Thank you. I have a friend that works in a nursing home and told me, they're like, Kingdom Songs, I forget which was like Kingdom Song 17 or whatever. And I was like, yeah. And it was like, I think it's a Christian song that I heard on the radio today, but it had different words. And I was like, oh yeah, they all came from Christendom. Isn't that strange? The Jehovah's holy music came from his enemy, Satan. Well, it's Jerry. I spent years believing that Rod Carew, the baseball player, converted to Jehovah's Witnesses because I had been.
Jehovah's Witness, yes, he did. I remember hearing that.
I did too. And this was something that was said in, I want to say it was said in a talk, or either was said in a talk or it was said during a Watchtower study, and everyone nodded their head, and I said, wow, Rod Carew, the baseball player, became a Jehovah's Witness. But years later I found out that he had converted to Judaism. He wasn't Jehovah's Witnesses at all. He converted to being Jewish, and for wherever, just decided, Jehovah's Witness, close enough. And they used it in a Watchtower comment. I don't even know where these people are coming from or what this does for them, but for some reason these Jehovah's Witnesses that have they almost have a despicable view of worldly people, and yet they find such validation in concocting these stories about worldly people validating the religion by joining it. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
So what do you think about these, like, this new... you made these videos about Prince, which are really, really, really funny.
I'm obsessed with Prince. I can't stop.
I was telling you, I've wanted to talk to him, but, he's very elusive.
Yeah. He is...
I didn't believe it for a long time. I see it online, I'm like, no, he's not. He's probably, like, studying with Larry Graham or whatever, and I'm sure he's like, Brother Prince, it's going to take him a long time. He really likes pussy, but it's going to take him a while. That's what I thought. But apparently he is baptized and is a Jehovah's Witness. Is a baptized Jehovah's Witness.
Yes. There is... I knew this 15 years ago because I used to be friends with Bethelites at the actual Bethel factory grounds. There, I knew people that confirmed that they're like, he's been on the tour. He came through here with Brother Graham. And this was 15 years ago. And so he's this isn't his first rodeo. That's what I keep telling people about Prince, is the excuse keeps being made for him. Well, he's just coming into the truth. He just found out about Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not true. He's been doing this since the 90s. This started in the 90s. We're over halfway through the 2010s. We're 2 decades out. And he's worse. He didn't get better, he got worse. And that's what I keep saying. Jerry, I don't know if you watched that episode of New Girl he was on. He was holding a
I did.
He was holding an Illuminati, where he wasn't. Somebody went and got a Frisbee off of his roof. It was an Illuminati logo on the Frisbee. And he said, oh, there's a ton of them up there.
The third eye stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just good. Well, I mean, is so... I'm thinking, like, maybe now he's not so into it. I mean,
I'm thinking the same thing.
I'm sure, like, whatever he's into this month, he might not be into next month.
I'm thinking the same thing, except... And Prince is a guy who changes his hat every time he every time he takes a shower, he puts on a different... he doesn't wear the same clothes twice. I agree with you there, but the thing is,
right.
he has held on to this Jehovah's Witness thing for an unnatural amount of time. Also, his friendship with Brother Graham, Prince doesn't keep friends. He is notorious for being friends with somebody for 2 years and never speaking to them again. That's Prince. That's what he does. He's been doing this Jehovah's Witness thing for coming up on 2 decades now. Jerry, there's something to this.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard Kevin Smith's story about going to visit Prince?
I was listening to it in the background. I wasn't paying close attention. You might want to revisit it for me.
Okay, so he talked a lot about the whole thing was that he went to go visit Prince to try to get a song for his movie, and then it turned into Prince saying, "Hey, I want you to do a documentary about me." So he spent about a week with him. And while he was there, Prince was going through his Jehovah's Witness thing. He would have people come over, and he'd open up a New World Translation and start Bible study with them. Nobody else, no other Jehovah's Witnesses there, just him and people. He invited people to his house to listen to music. So he had people listen to his album, and then after they listened to the album, he brought the New World Translation and started talking about it. And people, apostates, show up at his house, and we're trying to tell him, that's a cult, you got to get out of it. And he's like, no, you're done, get out, and just go on. But from Kevin Smith's story, it sounds like he's got his own version of the Jehovah's Witness. He does what he wants, and nobody's stopping him.
That is what I have come to deduce as well. And Jerry, I've been obsessed with Prince for years now. I've tried to stop thinking about Prince. I can't. He is my white whale, Jerry. He's what I just can't give up. He's no good for me. He's no good for me, but I've just, and it was even before Jehovah's Witness thing, I've always had a fascination with Prince. From the earliest age, there was something about him that was, I remember being like 5 years old when Doves Cry came on the TV, the video. It was almost like something from the Live Forever book. He's in this black room and he's in a bathtub and he turns and looks at you and there's a smoke or steam or whatever it is coming up, and then to me he represented. And then and I was young too, but I remember the song 1999, and they even talked about it at the meeting, that was the spirit of this world, this satanic world, that we're going to party like it's 1999, and that his lyrics were describing Armageddon, and that he was really linked to the satanic system of things here. And when I was young, that was something that chilled me about this person named Prince that I barely knew anything about. But to me, he was he was almost like a Cruella de Vil type character that was very, and also his his ambiguity as to gender in the old days, where he, from certain angles at certain moments, he looked like a female, and you couldn't, and I wasn't entirely certain, was he Caucasian or was he African American? I didn't know. But just his whole look, that he was a man, but he was wearing high heels. This is no big deal now, but back in those days, that was something. As a young child, when I saw him on TV, he disturbed me like no one else. And years later, and I'm talking, we're 30 years out, 30 years later, I'm starting to think that it's not so far removed from the truth. I really believe that he symbolizes this satanic system of things, and that Jehovah's Witnesses, as I said long ago in one of my videos, everything is the opposite of what its actual meaning is. He's dressed as an Indian sultan, laying on a gilded pillow, surrounded by luxuries, and I think he even had someone serving fruit to him, and he's laying there reading a New World Translation Bible, surrounded by the excess of someone that is pampering themselves with the satanic pleasures of this system of things, with a New World Translation Bible in his hand. And it was something that even as disturbed as I had been by Prince as a very young person, I found him even more distressing at that point, and I couldn't forget about him. Anyway, a little something about me. Prince,
Hey,
it seems like...
Remember, I don't know if you remember on one of his albums, he had a backward masking thing at the end of the song.
Was it on Signs of the Time? Oh, I think I actually own that album. I learned much later that Jehovah's Witnesses had a part in Prince's young life and childhood and family situation.
Right.
And that his many references to Satan, the angels, the things of this system of things, I think the Jehovah's Witness religion had a direct bearing on it, but it almost seems like it's been almost a reversal, in that it almost seems like the Jehovah's Witnesses exist for Prince. Anyway, I've talked myself into a corner. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore, Jerry.
Well, listen, you brought up something, and then when it comes to like shadowy whatever organizations or whatever, what's behind? Because that's always a question with a lot of people, especially people who's like, what is this all about? What is this organization all about? And something that I think that's always possible is that people will take advantage. And I wonder, like, have they ever been robbed? Because if they have, you never know. But anyway, as far as like money stuff, I was looking at this whole blood management industry. I don't know if you know anything about that.
No.
But they almost created, Jehovah's Witnesses have created a whole industry called blood management, and that's the whole artificial blood thinners, blood expanders, all that shit.
Uh-huh.
They started that industry, and now they're kind of pushing it in government. And Jehovah's Witnesses are at the top of that industry, and it is a billion-dollar industry, and it's something you would never know about.
So they got in at the ground level. Oh.
Online. There's that billionaire Jehovah's Witnesses. I never knew that.
I didn't think about it. Now that is...
The people that they did business with to do the properties, because a lot of those properties, when they sell those, they needed a go-between, and those were Jehovah's Witnesses. Those were like rich Jehovah's Witnesses that helped them do those sales.
What I have always, well, not always, but what I've wondered for a long time is, where does the money go? Who's getting it? Like, they're always talking about hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. It's like, but where is it, and who is getting it, and what's it spent on? Because the whole Jehovah's Witness thing, it doesn't cost that much money.
Robbing them. I know that's happened. I've seen that happen. So on a local level, we know that, right?
I guess so. I'm thinking more like, is there somebody that is just living in like an Italian mansion and they have butlers and they ride around on yachts? I'm like, who gets like Jerry?
It would be so easy to skim. It would be so easy to skim from them.
Yeah.
So easy to skim. It's not taxed, and so if it's not taxed, there's so many records that you don't have to have. And for somebody, I'd say rob, but it's the same with a mob visit. You just skim off the top, and somebody could be living high on the hog, and we don't know. It could be happening. I'm sure there's some lawyers that are living high on the hog off of the JWs.
Yeah, I've heard stories of Watchtower lawyers retiring when they're 40, and and they what. Here's the thing, Jerry. Nobody can even tell anyone what Jehovah's Witnesses is. Like you brought out, it's even people who are quote unquote apostates and like, oh, so and so has this website and he's whenever Jehovah's Witnesses are in the news, he's who we interview. None of these people can even tell you comprehensively what is Jehovah's Witnesses. And the easy answer is that it's a publishing company that also is kind of a religion or vice versa. Nobody has ever been able to explain why this is happening, what is the impetus, what is it all for, and what is the ultimate goal. I've never had anyone give me a clear answer on this. Where is all of this going?
That guy looked like he's deluded. He really does. But then again, everybody says, well, those guys are just puppets or whatever. I do think, and I have no way of knowing this, but I think that there's some rich Jehovah's Witnesses who have benefited from the whole arrangement, and they benefited in a lot of off ways. Like, of course, they're not getting money directly from like the sale of watchtowers, but if the watchtower needs to buy a building, or this blood management industry that happened to create that Jehovah's Witnesses need, but now they can push it in other ways. They've created an industry down to the lower level, to the local congregation, to Jehovah's Witnesses having a lock on the janitorial business, and these brothers paying other people in the congregation pennies. The structure goes like it's like a pyramid.
Well, that's the oldest one in the book.
About it, and I would be scared about it because I still like think it was ridiculous. And I remember asking my mom about it. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a crazy rumor. Shouldn't the elders like be on top of this? And shouldn't somebody say like, hey, no, we shouldn't be telling these crazy stories? And my mother was like, no, they're demonic.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that was one of the first cracks for me. I'm like, that.
Oh, really?
That's pretty crazy. Because the stories that were going around about that were like, I'm like, really? A smart one in the Kingdom Hall said this is bullshit and walked out? Like, nobody chased it? No, this is in the newspaper? What the fuck? There aren't thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses talking about they saw it?
I spent hours online a few years ago. I spent probably 20, 25 hours online scouring the internet, trying to deduce or get some sort of trail. More common with Jehovah's Witnesses than just out and out lying is the embellishing, which I don't even know how it got started, but it just almost goes without saying that it's okay to enhance the details of it. Begins with an original experience or something along that lines, and then you just build upon it and make it, and just engulf it. You make it sound better and better. And that's such standard practice with Jehovah's Witnesses that I don't think anyone even blinks at it. And it starts there, and now it just has gotten exaggerated to an insane degree where Jehovah's Witness, you see their mouth flapping, you know that it's embellished. I just call them like I see them, Jerry.
The Smurfs.
Yeah.
Because, when I was a teenager when that happened. I loved it. I loved the Smurfs. And at first it scared me. And as I got older, my friends would...
Small thing.
Exactly. The experience of the church that got transformed to a Kingdom Hall thing.
I can just see it happening. It just,
Especially in a non-English community, so it gets when it gets translated into another language or whatever, then it takes on a life of its own. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think so. Same. It's like the Chupacabra. It was like the predecessor to that.
Yeah. Exactly. When I was a kid, there was it was like one of those things, whatever, urban legend. Rod Stewart drank a gallon of sperm on stage, and actually, that was something that I heard from Jehovah's Witnesses, and that was why you shouldn't listen to his music.
I have heard, Jerry, I don't even know where to begin of all the... And I read the same experience again and again and again, and I could not trace back its origin to anywhere. I don't even know what that means.
A few years ago, I was looking online, and I thought that, and then this is not confirmed or anything, but the rumor is that it started in an evangelical Christian community, and it kind of bled over to the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, really?
Puerto Rico.
That's interesting. In Puerto Rico, you say?
Yeah, it was a Latin thing. Yeah.
It sounds like a Latin thing.
And it was more in a Christian community that was in the JWs, and somehow bled over to the JWs.
Now, that's interesting because it's something I never lighted upon. But it almost seems like it. So you're saying that it was... Are you saying that it was a story they created about Jehovah's Witnesses, or you're saying that it was an experience at a church that got transformed into a kingdom? As to which kingdom hall, what city, what state, what country the Smurf incident took place at, and I was determined as all get out to pinpoint which kingdom hall this happened in. I said, somebody's got to know. Because every kingdom hall and every congregation on earth had, it wasn't a version of the Smurfs account. It's identical. Every retelling of the Smurf experience is identical that I've ever heard. There's never even been variation of it. It's been the same exact story, which leads you to wonder if it's say this isn't like something that kids started. This had, and I just wanted to go backwards from there and say, where did it actually originate from? I even went on Snopes and every other, I went on TMZ and everything I could think of.